everyone, and welcome to another episode of MimiLumi Presents Hump Day Yoga. Thank you so much for joining me today. I know it's been a little while since I popped up a new video, for which I do apologize, but you know, life sometimes gets in the way. I had a lot of positive feedback from our previous video, which was a little bit of a less traditional flow, more just talking about the types of stretches that I do every morning just to sort of wake me up and get my day rolling. Today will be a bit more of a traditional class, however, it will be focusing on postures that are good for those of us who have wrist issues or wrist injuries or people who are trying to rehabilitate from that. So if you've been to my classes before, if you've watched these videos before, I've touched on this. I have an overuse injury in my right wrist that can give me a lot of grief, and it's flaring up again today. And that's fine when I'm teaching a more traditional class in person because I can walk you through a posture, guide you through it, you have other people to look at for cues. But when it's online, obviously if I can't demonstrate something, it pretty much means we can't put it in the class. So on that note, let's do a really nice, fantastic, fairly vigorous flow, but it will be targeted for things that are not going to cause any grief for anyone that does have wrist issues. So let's start. Great, so now we're in a nice square cross-legged position. Walk the flesh out from underneath the buttocks if you need to, so that you feel like you're sitting up tall and the sit bones are digging down into the mat. Take your hands to prayer at heart center, and then as you inhale, big open heart breath. Exhale, we're going to take our right arm underneath our left hook at the elbows and come up into an eagle bind. So as we hold here, we're working the fingertips, if we can, a little higher towards the sky. And as we exhale, perhaps we're even letting them shift slightly away from the head. You're looking towards your elbows here. This is option A, where I want you to stay if this is already quite an intense stretch for the shoulders, or if you prefer a gentler practice. If you want to move deeper, then perhaps we can exhale, contract through the core and fold forward from the hips to release into a forward fold. Now, if you can't quite reach the floor with your hands, and if this sense of hovering begins to bring pressure into the lower back, then release the eagle bind and use your hands on the mat beneath you for support, so that you can raise yourself up a little higher out the posture. However, if you're happy in the eagle bind, you're using the weight of your arms to bring you deeper so that you can really surrender. And perhaps you're really relaxing through the back of the neck, forehead working down towards those elbows. And you'll see that I have quite a strong curve through my spine, and that's okay. What I'm doing here is really accessing a deep stretch in between my shoulder blades, as well as through my lower back and hips and buttocks. And we'll hold here for a few breaths. In and out. When we're ready to come out, we inhale to look forward. Exhale to engage your core muscles a little bit, or imagine someone pulling on your fingers to lift you up. Inhale, open heart breath. Exhale, the hands behind, and then change the cross of your legs. Yeah, it doesn't matter what cross they were in before, but now I want you to change them. So for me, you can see I've got my right leg forward now, and we take it on the other side. So inhale, big open heart breath. When you're ready, exhale, this time the left hand comes under, the left arm I should say. We go the elbows and we come into that eagle bind. If you can't make flat palms, of course, you can just hold on to the wrist or just grip onto a finger. Inhale, grow those fingers a little higher towards the sky, perhaps further away from the head. And again, feel free to stay here, or exhale, we begin to fold forward. And we release those arms towards the floor. And one side's going to be tighter than the other. Acknowledge it. It might be the tighter side for you here. Release from the eagle bind if you need to support yourself a little bit more with the hands on the mat. Or you're holding here, and again, just really relax through the forehead and the neck. Just really sink down. Hold for a couple of breaths. And then inhale to look forward between those fingers. Exhale, we contract through the core muscles. Imagine someone's pulling you up with those fingertips to lift you up. Inhale, big open heart breath. And then exhale, let's return those hands back to prayer. Spread those fingers wide and then interlace those fingers so that you're forming a steeple. And just have a little bit of a play of, it's almost like you're wringing out a sponge. You're moving from side to side. Just working through those tendons in the fingers and through the palms. Maybe even pressing the palms away. Or you can take the opposite little stretch and you're thinking about pulling wrists apart. And again, I'm feeling a really lovely stretch between my shoulder blades when I do that. And then release. And then we're just going to flick our fingers out like so. So often in our day-to-day life when we're gripping things or we're using our phone or we're typing or kind of have our hands in like a claw-like position all the time. And I want you to think about extending your fingers. So we're working the opposite direction. Good. And then give the wrists a little bit of a circle in both directions. Maybe if it feels comfortable, you're even shaking out the wrists. My wrists is probably a bit too tender for that. Oh, that's doing okay. Obviously, you can make this like really quite hard, but for me, I can tell that my right wrist is a little unhappy, so I'm just going to keep it soft. Good, amazing. From here, we're coming to a tabletop position, and you can do that by either taking your feet to one side and then pressing up with the hands, or you can rock out over the knees, uncross the ankles, and make sure you're about in the center of your mat. We'll move through a few rounds of our cat-cow posture. Now, if your wrists are super happy today, you're probably going to want to come to flat palms, like so, hands underneath the shoulders. However, if like me and your wrists are upset today, you might want to come to gorilla fists. So you notice now, wrist is straight, there's no flexion there. So it's a bit of a happier place for wrists to be sometimes if you're working with any soreness or tension there. When you're ready, we'll move through a few rounds of our cat-cow. Inhale to tilt the tailbone towards the sky. Draw the chest forward through the arms. Lift the gaze just slightly. Exhale, we tuck the tailbone under, arch through the spine, chin to chest, curving into cat. Inhale, reverse that motion. Again, you're really keeping your abdominal muscles engaged here to protect your lower back. And then exhale, we curve. Continuing for a few more rounds in your own time. And if you want to make it a bit more animalistic or take some circles to the right and the left, feel free to do so. I'm going to keep mine square today. And then when we're ready, we inhale back to a neutral starting spine. From here, we're going to come into a thread the needle posture. Now, this wrist of mine is happy today, so I can bring this palm down. And I'm going to inhale my left arm up towards the sky. Exhale, we reach and twist. We're reaching towards the opposite wall. Inhale, big open twist. Exhale, we thread and reach through. Inhale, one last big open twist, let your hips spray open, and then exhale, we try to reach through, and we release the left shoulder and the left side of the head completely onto the floor. Left fingers relaxed. From here, press more firmly through the palm of the right hand to deepen that stretch through the back of the left shoulder. And I've just realized I might have confused some of you, because obviously when I teach to the camera, I reverse, so that I'm your mirror image. And now I know I've just been talking about how it's my right wrist that is injured, but it looks like my left wrist to you. So I'm going to continue to refer to this as my left wrist, and hopefully I'll stop confusing you now. A few more deep breaths in and out. And then when we're ready, we press through that right hand to come back to tabletop. And again, I can feel that my wrist is released a little bit, so it's feeling okay flat palmed here. So I think I can manage to thread the needle on the other side with a flat palm, but you could come to gorilla fist again if you needed to. So inhale, big open twist. Exhale, we thread and reach through. Really try to reach that opposite wall with fingers. Engage through your obliques. Inhale, big open twist. Exhale, we thread and reach through. Inhale, last time, deep breath in. And then exhale, thread and reach through. Release the the right shoulder and the right side of the head into the floor. We're pressing through the left hand here. Really relax through the back of the neck. And take some nice deep breaths in and out here. One more deep breath in, and then exhale, press through the palm of that left hand to bring yourself back up to your table. From here, we're going to come into a puppy posture, and if you haven't picked up the cue yet, we're doing a lot of openness for shoulders and upper back, because often that's where the root cause of wrist issues stems from. So when you're ready, keep the hips above the knees, and then exhale, walk your hands forward to come into that puppy posture. And you might want to bring your chin towards the floor or the forehead towards the floor, depending on what feels more comfortable for you. If that super duper doesn't feel comfortable for you, you can always stack one fist underneath the forehead But if you do that, make sure you alternate. So take a few breaths like that and then swap over just so that you're equalizing the stretch through the upper body. Couple of deep breaths in and out here. Good. Before we inhale to look forward, exhale, walk those hands back in towards the tabletop. We're going to take our weight back towards our heels now so that we're in a kneeling position. And often I will come into downward facing hero and I take my knees apart. We're going to keep the legs as they are. Maybe they're slightly apart just to leave a bit more space for the belly or for the chest. And then we'll inhale, exhale, walk into an extended child's posture. Take a breath or two here. Make sure that you remind yourself that you can return here at any point during the practice if you'd like to collect your breath or your thoughts. It's your practice, it's your journey. When we're ready to continue, we inhale to look forward, and then exhale, we walk our hands all the way towards the right side of our mat, and you can almost let the weight rock slightly off that left hip before you relax the forehead towards the floor. Maybe the forehead touches, maybe it doesn't. And you should be feeling a really strong stretch through the left side of the torso, and particularly underneath the left armpit. Maybe you're even working that left fingers and the hand a little further up towards that top right corner. A few more breaths here. And then inhale to look between those hands. Exhale, we walk straight away to the left side of our mat. And again, the hips can just slightly shift off that right heel, right foot. And then exhale, relax and release. Hold for a few breaths here. Working right fingers now a little bit closer up towards that top left corner of your mat. And release and relax. Inhale to look forward between those hands. Exhale, walk your hands back into their center alignment now. Inhale to hands and knees, tuck toes under. As you exhale, we're pressing the earth away from us to come to our first downward facing dog. And you'll notice I'm really rotating my shoulders out at the spine. I'm thinking about pressing every pad of my hand and fingers into the floor. Knees are nice and bent. Good. When you're ready, you can begin to walk your dog, alternate heel presses. Moving as fast or as slow as feels right for you. My calf muscles are quite tight today, so I'm going to walk quite slowly. Really get a nice little lengthener out from that. Good. And then when you're ready, inhale to the balls of both feet, coming to a slightly higher downward dog. Just see if you can encourage that tailbone another millimeter or so closer towards the sky. And then when you're ready, exhale. Big gusty sigh out through the mouth. Allow your heels to melt towards the floor. Try not to let anything change too much in the spine. The knees can, of course, still be a little bit bent. Good. And we're going to continue to move on straight away from our downward dog. So as we inhale, we lift the right leg up nice and high. Exhale, scoot through the belly to really draw the knee up towards the head and land that foot at the top of the mat. Feel free to grab a cushion and then pad that back left knee. And we're going to walk that right foot as far forward as we need to so that the ankle's directly underneath the knee. Inhale, we come up. Easy half lunge. Exhale, we soften the hips towards the floor and we try and bring the top of this left thigh up towards the top of our mat. And by doing so, we're bringing our pelvis into a more neutral position. Inhale, let's come to cactus arms and broaden through the chest. Really engage through the fingertips again. And then exhale, hands come back up. Good. Lovely. Maybe the hips can soften a little bit more down towards the floor now that we've held for a little bit longer. One more deep breath in. Exhale, take your hands so that they're both on the inside of that right foot, and you can walk your right foot slightly out. Right toes coming to a slight angle here, about 45, maybe a little bit less. From here, we're going to pivot this back left knee so that now our left toes are pointing towards the right side of the mat, and we angle ourselves that way towards the left corner of our mat. Variation of our lizard lunge as we exhale and we soften down. And you just stop where you feel that first point of resistance, supporting yourself with your hands as you work through that deep groin stretch here. Make sure the knee stays pointing out over the toes, wherever they might be. When you're ready, you can begin to relax a little deeper. Maybe the elbows come towards the mat. And we're just going to hold here for a few breaths. Try to let go of any tension you might be holding around the face, neck, or jaw. Inhale to straighten those arms and work your torso back upright. We're going to pivot that knee back out so that the left toes are pointing towards the back of the mat, and simply walk your hands so that they frame the front foot again. Tuck your back toes under, straighten that back leg, press back into downward facing dog. Good. Gently guide your prop out of the way for the moment. And then from here, we're going to inhale forward to full or a half plank. Now, because my wrist is unhappy, I have to come straight to half plank. You stay in full if that's what's happy for you. And as we exhale, we're going to lower with elbows tight to the body to lie completely flat on the mat. Walk those legs out long, press the tops of the feet and the pubic bone into the floor. And then inhale, let's come up into a Sphinx posture, making sure the elbows are directly underneath the shoulders and the fingers are pointing forward. You want to imagine that your fingers are almost pulling you forward along the mat and you're opening and broadening through the chest. Feel free to stay here. Maybe this is just a really lovely back stretch for you today. Maybe you would like to rest here or make it as much of a rest as you can. If you want to increase the load for your arms, we're going to come into our dolphin posture. So we're going to press down through our forearms, thinking about almost like we're squeezing the elbows together. Tuck our back toes under, and then exhale, lift the hips up high. Walk the feet in closer towards the head to come into our dolphin posture. So really think about pressing every part of the hand, every fingertip into the floor, elbows pressing into the mat. Lift the shoulders up and away from the ears. And then exhale, we soften the lower the knees to the mat. Inhale, hands to chest. We come into a little cow. Tuck our toes under, keep that broadness through the chest. And then exhale, press back into downward facing dog. Good. Take a few breaths here. So that little sequence is kind of my favorite vinyasa flow to do when my wrists are unhappy. It's still heat building, it's still really working the front and the back side of my body, it's still mimicking that same kind of vinyasa flow that a more traditional chaturanga dandasana will do, but it just keeps my wrists in a happier place. When we're ready to move on, we inhale the left foot up nice and high, and again really think about drawing the knee towards the head, so you're lightly landing the left foot at the top of the mat. Take that cushion back or that blanket, pad your back right knee if you need to, walk the left foot further forward, inhale up, easy half lunge, exhale, we soften and release down. We work now the front of the right thigh towards the top of our mat, bringing the pelvis into a more neutral position. Press through the sole of that left foot, inhale to lift and lengthen, and we're not just lengthening through the front of the torso, we're lengthening through the back of the torso as well. Imagine someone's hooked the back of your rib cage and it's lifting it up towards the sky. Exhale to soften shoulders and ears away. No, shoulders away from the ears. Good. Contracting through core even here. One more deep breath in, and then exhale, we'll take those hands into the inside edge of the left foot. The left foot can walk a little bit out if you need it to. Pivot on the right knee, so right toes are pointing towards the left side of the mat, and then we turn so that our body is angled, or our torso is angled towards the top right-hand corner of our mat. And again, some of you might feel like this is already strong enough, and that's okay, you can hold here. If you want to move deeper, you begin to bend the elbows. Stop where you feel the first point of resistance, only lowering the elbows if that's truly comfortable. Your hips, your back, your knee, all of the above. Once you're there, relax through the neck, and we just take a couple of breaths here. Keep a little bit of engagement for your core muscles here. Good. To release, we inhale to walk those hands back up. Pivot on that right knee so the toes point towards the back of the mat. We frame our front left leg. Press through the toes, straighten the back leg. Press back into downward facing dog. Good. Couple of breaths here. Move your prop gently out of the way. And then of course it's your practice, so maybe you want to hold here in your downward dog today. Just taking some really deep breaths in and out. If you want to move through a traditional vinyasa flow, you can do so. If you want to stay with me, then perhaps we inhale forward, full plank or half. Your choice. Lower down slowly with control. Walk with hands out. Inhale. Little Sphinx posture. Again, feel free to stay here. Or we tuck our toes under. Exhale, we press back into our dolphin. Walking the feet in a little closer towards the head. Hold for a breath or two if that feels right. Exhale when you're ready to lower the knees. Inhale, variation of your cow. Exhale, toes stay tucked under, and we press back into downward facing dog. Good. Next inhalation, we take the right leg up nice and high. Exhale, scoop it to the front of the mat in between those hands. This time we ground down through our back left ankle, and on an inhale, we're going to windmill up to our warrior two. So we can walk this right foot further forward if we need to, so you can just see those toes. And make sure that if you draw a line from the front heel to your back foot, it should end up intersecting somewhat with the arch of your back foot. Good. Thinking about inhaling to lift shoulders up for one moment before you exhale, and let those arms just feel as though they're resting on a body of water. Thinking about energy wrapping in and then down this back leg, whereas energy in the front leg is wrapping up and out. It's almost like a kind of twisting, ringing action. Energy out through those toes and through the fingers. Good. Touch, look out over the right arm. As the legs begin to open, you might be able to deepen the posture a little bit. When you're ready, we'll turn our front palm up. Inhale to reach forward. Exhale, we come back to reverse warrior. Just really lightly landing the left hand on the back leg. Look wherever is comfortable for your neck. So that could be up with the right hand, directly in front, or down at the back foot. Make sure that this is just a nice side curve here through the spine. You're not coming into an arch or putting any pressure in the lower back. Maybe the right heel comes off the floor. Relax the top right shoulder. And then inhale, imagine someone's pulling you up with the top hand, lower that back, the front heel I should say. Now we're going to straighten our front leg and heel and toe that left foot in just to shorten the stance just slightly. Make sure your tailbone is really dropping towards the floor and isn't saying hello to the wall behind you. We're moving into triangle, so we inhale to reach the right fingers forward and then the left hip shifts slightly back. Stop where you feel that little bit of resistance, and then exhale, come into your triangle posture. So you'll notice I'm really trying to draw my knee up towards my hip. If you have a tendency to hyperextend the knee, you can have a little soft micro bend in that front leg. And I want you to think about coming quite high up in the posture today, because I want you to focus more on your torso staying really lovely and straight on both sides, or as straight as it can be. Obviously we're human beings with calves and things. But look at the bottom foot, or directly in front, or up at the top hand again, wherever your neck is comfortable. And engage through those core muscles. Engage through the legs. Continue to hold here. So we don't want to worry too much about touching the foot, because to be honest I can do that, but by doing that I very easily just sunk into all my joints. My tailbone's kind of popping out towards the back wall now. You can see I don't have a really nice, strong and engaged right side of my torso. It's just let go. Much more important to be up a little higher, I think, and be really using those muscles correctly. On your next inhalation, imagine someone pulls you up with that top left hand back to standing. Bend your front right leg as much as you need to so that you can windmill those hands down and press them back into the floor into a supported high lunge. When you're ready, we press back into downward facing dog. Relax through the neck. Give your head a few little nods and shakes if you need to. Good. Hold here, perhaps rest in child's posture, or if you want to, you can move through that vinyasa flow. We inhale forward. Knees down perhaps, or we lower in full plank. Inhale to Sphinx. Press the tops of the feet into the floor. Exhale, we tuck our toes under. Work our way into our dolphin, working the feet in a little closer towards the head. Really press the earth away from you with your elbows. Exhale to soften the knees towards the floor. Inhale, little tiny cow. Exhale, tuck toes under and press back into downward facing dog. When you're ready, we take it on the left side. So we inhale, left leg up nice and high. Exhale, scoop the left knee towards the front of the mat, in between the hands. Ground down through the back right foot this time. Inhale, windmill the right arm up to bring you to standing. Walk the left foot further out if you need to, so you can just see those toes. And again, internal rotation on the back leg. External rotation on the front. like you're wringing out a sponge, energy through the fingertips. We turn to look over the left arm if it's comfortable for the neck. Stay nice and engaged through the core. Rib cage drawing in, tailbone drawing towards the earth, crown of the head lifting towards the sky. Nice deep breaths in and out. Well done. When we're ready, we'll turn our front palm up. Inhale to reach forward. Exhale, we come back. Reverse warrior. Try not to sink too heavily into this back right hand. Keep that lunge through the left leg. Maybe you're coming up onto the ball of the left foot, raising the left heel. Relax that left shoulder away from the ears. Left heel comes down. Inhale, we come back up. Straighten the front leg and then heel and toe this back right leg in. Just slightly shortening the stance. If you prefer a wide stance, of course you can stay there. But I find most people prefer a slightly shorter stance. Again, super engaged through the thighs, energy out through soles of feet, core muscles engaged. Inhale, reach forward with the left fingertips. Let your right hip shift slightly back towards the wall behind you. And then exhale, windmill those hands down. Notice the asymmetry in your body. Which side do you feel like you can access trying a little bit more easily? For me, it's this side, which you can probably tell just by looking at me. Look wherever is comfortable for the neck, yeah? There's no right or wrong answer there. And if that means you shift your gaze, then you shift your gaze as you hold. Good. Keep on engaging through those legs and the core. A little bit of engagement for your glutes as well, your lovely little bottom muscles. When you're ready to come up, inhale, imagine you're being pulled up with that top right hand. Bend your left knee as much as you need to so that you can exhale to windmill the hands back to frame the front foot. And then again, we press back into downward facing dog. Good. So listen to your body and what it needs or what it desires today. Does it want to move through another vinyasa flow? Or does it want to rest? Maybe coming to child's posture, or maybe taking another couple of breaths in your puppy pose. You're moving through the vinyasa flow. Really stay engaged. Move slow and steady so that you're listening to your breath. You don't need to race through it. The good thing about that variation is there's also opportunities where you can pause. Wherever we are, whether we were resting or moving through the vinyasa flow, we slowly all make our way into our little cow. Exhale, we tuck our toes under. We press back into downward facing dog. From here, inhale, right leg up nice and high. Exhale, scoop it to the front of the mat in between your hands. From here, a little bit of a retract back through the legs, and we're going to push off that back left foot. So lift that left knee up towards the chest and wrap around and hold onto it with our hands. Really engage through that supporting lower leg and feel that lift and lengthen through the spine. Good. We'll take a little balance here. So as you hold, we're thinking about lifting up through the torso. You can keep the knee where it is, or you can drop it level with your hips, up to you. We're going to take this right hand and hold on to the outside edge of the left knee. And then inhale, come to a little spiral twist here. Either looking at the wall to the left, or maybe back at those left fingertips. Woo. If you take a wobble, we don't beat ourselves up. We just smile and accept it's part of the ride. Maybe you can extend that left foot. Deep breath in. As you exhale, I'm just going to pivot so I don't knock the couch. Can you come back out of your twist, hands to prayer, and I want to see if you can swing this leg back, and you're going to fly straight into a warrior three. Woo. Square off your hips, hands can come down towards the floor for support if needed. Deep breath in, broaden through the chest and the back of the shoulder blades before you exhale. Release the foot towards the floor. Inhale, arms up, high lunge. Feeling that lovely stretch through the left of the hip flexor. Exhale, the hands come back towards the mat. And we press back into downward facing dog. 2 breaths here. And again, make your choice. Feel free to stay in the downward dog, or rest in your child's posture, Balasana. Or if you want to move through your vinyasa flow of your choice, you can do so now. Inhale forward. Exhale to lower. Inhale to a sphinx or a cobra, depending on your preference. Exhale, we press back. Dolphin. Hold here. Good. Softly lower the knees towards the floor with control. Inhale up into a little tiny cow. Exhale, we tuck our toes under. We press back into downward facing dog. Deep breaths in and out. Okay, we take the same sequence on the left. So we inhale the left leg up nice and high. Exhale, scoop the knee towards the head so you can lightly land that left foot at the top of the mat. Retract back, press off that back right foot. Lead that right knee up nice and high towards the chest. Holding on with the hands. Drop your right hip so it's level with your left. Engage really strongly through the supporting leg. Imagine you're pressing your heel into the floor. Then we're going to take the left hand onto the outside edge of the right knee. We come into that little spiral. Looking either straight towards that right wall, right at the back right hand. Maybe this right leg extends, maybe. Keep breathing. The legs extended. Can you reverse from the spiral, keeping the leg extended, and then send it straight back into a warrior three to fly. Square off as much as you can through the hips. Woo. Rib cage again, drawing in. Obliques activated. Exhale, almost like it's a sigh. So lightly land those right toes to the back of the mat. Inhale up, high lunge. Exhale, we take those hands back down towards the mat and press back into downward facing dog. 3 deep breaths in and out here. Good. Lovely. From here, we're going to walk our hands very slowly back towards the feet to come back into Uttanasana. Knees, of course, can bend if needed. Relax through the neck. But if you're feeling warmer through the back of the legs, thighs engage, top of the thighs engage, and we feel that release through the back of the legs. Hungry, hungry rib cage trying to draw down onto the thighs. Inhale to a halfway lift of your choice. Maybe that's fingertips this time, or it can be hands back to shins. Exhale, soften and fold deeper. Bend the knees slightly and exhale, begin to slowly roll up through the spine. Vertebrae by vertebrae. Inhaling up, shoulders in, head last. So from here, we're going to come into Prasarita Padottanasana. So turn so that you're facing the long end of your mat and take those legs out really nice and wide. Even here, thinking about engaging through those tops of the thighs, kneecaps coming up towards hips, tailbone dropping towards the floor, outside edges of our feet rolling out and down and towards the mat, spine lifting up towards the sky. Start with your hands on your hips, take a deep breath in, and then as you exhale, tilt your pelvis forward, so it's like a water bowl pouring forwards. We hinge forward from the hips and we stop that flat back position, and we take those hands onto the floor. Keep the weight forward into the balls of the feet, so there's a tendency to rock back onto the heels, but I want you to stay forward here. Good, bend the knees as much as you need to so that the hands can touch the floor. And again, if you're a bit like Al, like I am, and the flat wrist doesn't really work in that position for you today, you can come to gorilla fists. Relax through the back of your neck and imagine that there's energy traveling down your spine like a waterfall, right from the tailbone all the way out through the back of the neck to the crown of the head. Feel free to stay here if you'd want to move deeper. We begin by bringing the crown of the head closer towards the floor, and we work those hands back so that they're in line with the toes, or working towards being in line with the toes. And we're going to hold here for a couple of breaths, now cooling standing posture. Good way to finish off sun salutations. Holding for a few more breaths there. I'm just pivoting so that this next bit you can see more properly, or more clearly I should say. To release, we inhale to walk those hands back out. underneath the shoulders. And instead of coming back up, today I'd like us to heel and toe the feet in together nice and slow until you can come into your Bakasana, your crow. Yeah, you have the choice to fly into your crow if you'd like, but clearly my wrists are unhappy, so I'm not going to be doing that today. So I'm just going to stay here in my hip squat instead. Working palms together, squeezing my elbows towards my knees and my knees in towards my elbows so that I'm lifting and lengthening out through the spine. Few breaths here in this slightly more active variation of the posture, a little bit more yang, before I allow myself to completely surrender to the yin. And I'm going to bring my hands forward, palms facing up, and I'm going to let my chin drop down to my chest and really curve through the spine. And I'm going to hold here for a number of breaths and just really kind of sink into this really luscious hip squat and hip stretch and relax through the back of my neck. Letting go of any tension that might have been built up now. Good. And then to really release that inhale to look forward. Take your hands behind you, and it's just a simple matter of rocking your weight back, transferring it back until you can lower your bottom onto the mat. And then you're extending those legs out nice and long. Good. Walking the flesh out from underneath the buttocks so that you're sitting up really nice and tall. Feel free to sit back up on that edge of your cushion or edge of a folded blanket. If you know that just helps you to tilt your pelvis forward against those levels. That water bowl is level. Yeah. From here, we're going to come into our Paschimottanasana. So when we're ready, inhale the arms up towards the sky. Exhale, it's a contraction of your core muscles which bring you forward into this forward fold, into the hinge. You stop where you feel that point of resistance, and then simply relax your hands down onto your legs, whatever that might be for you today. Take ego out of the picture and answer that question honestly. If it's knees today, it's knees today, you know? For some of us who are really tight or have really struggled sitting up tall through the pelvis, maybe your Paschimottanasana is simply having hands behind you and just pressing the fingertips in towards the floor so that you're slightly reaching forward in that hinge. Yeah? You're thinking about really activating through the toes and through the soles of the feet. The thighs are engaged. Yeah? And if you do have tight hamstrings, this is already going to be plenty. Yeah? And you're going to be feeling that stretch through the back of the body as well. There's no point in coming forward at the expense of your spine, at the expense of your back and relaxation. If you're hunching yourself forward, pulling yourself forward with your hands, you're sort of almost doing more, I don't want to say damage, but you're kind of fighting a losing battle, yeah. Forward folds, you really want to try to encourage that sense of surrender because this is towards the end of our flow, the end of our practice. We're letting gravity try to do a lot of the work here. We're surrendering into the openness that our body has created through the heat building postures we've just done. Close down your eyes if that feels right for you. Relax and release. Inhale to look forward between those toes. Exhale, let those hands just drift back up along the thigh. We're going to come into a cross mount stretch today. So when you're ready, just bend in your right leg a little bit so that you can reach with this left hand. And you're going to hold onto the left foot. Bring the knee in towards the chest. Sit up nice and tall. And then exhale, you work towards straightening the right leg. Might not become completely straight. We're just working towards it. And you will be bringing the leg slightly across your body. So if I turn to show you this way, instead of having my foot out in parallel, it's across my body so that you can see my face. And then this right hand either stays behind you on the floor for support, or we reach with those fingers and we come into a bit of an internal twist. So obviously if your lower back's feeling tender today, this might not be right for you. You might want to keep the hand behind you, or you might prefer to come to Janushirasana instead. But if this feels nice, you should be getting a really deep neural stretch through the knee and through the outside edge of that right leg. And it's a nice sense of growing taller through the body, really opening up and reaching. So we're mimicking that same posture that we did when we were standing in our balance, but obviously because we're on the floor, in essence supported, it's a bit more about the stretch rather than the strengthener. One more deep breath in, exhale, bring that knee back in towards the chest, ground the right foot onto the floor, lengthen the right leg back out. If you feel like your hips have shifted, take a second to walk the flesh out from back underneath the buttocks. Find your row posture, find your Dandasana, your nice tall strong seat. And then only when you feel ready, you bend the left knee in a little bit now, reach with the right hand, grab onto the outside edge. Your left hand stays behind you, start off with support, and then we take that little crossbody stretch. So this is definitely my tight leg today. Whew. Might be the opposite for you. So my leg isn't quite straight, but I'm working towards it. And then again, you can keep the hand there, or you can work those right fingers towards the wall behind you. Internal twist, so look at the back right hand, back left hand. And hold here. Bit of a contraction through the core to deepen the stretch. Good. When we're ready, we exhale to unwind and we draw the knee back in towards the chest. Ground down that left foot. Draw your right leg in as well, and we're going to wrap the hands around the legs. Exhale, forehead onto the knees. And simply take a few breaths here in your cosmic egg. Really releasing down into the hips and the buttocks. Rocking back onto the tailbone. Letting go of any tension that might have built up in between the shoulder blades. Inhale to lift the forehead back up off the knees. And we're going to work our way down towards our mat for a few final stretches before Shavasana. So now is a good opportunity if you would like to put on an extra layer or a quick drink before Shavasana. This is your moment. So to roll down, just use your hands for support. Work yourself down so you're about in the middle of your mat. Knees come in towards the chest. Use your hands to lengthen out through the back of the neck if you need to, so the back of the neck is long. Give those knees a little hug and squeeze, maybe a gentle rock from side to side before we lower the feet back down towards the mat. And you work the feet in as close to your buttocks as is comfortable for your knees. So if your knees start to pinch or they complain, you can walk the feet further back out, away from the hips. Hands beside you, palms facing down. Let's move into our bridge posture. Make sure your knees stay pointing out over your toes. Exhale, contract through your core muscles, press your lower back into the mat, and then inhale, press through the soles of the feet, the arms and the shoulders to lift those hips up high. Coming into this lovely diagonal line from your knees to your head. Deep breath in. Exhale, we slowly roll back down through the body. Vertebrae by vertebrae with control. Make it nice and slow and smooth. You release the lower back, hips and buttocks last as you inhale back to a neutral starting spine. Once more, exhale, contract through the core. Press lower back into the mat. Inhale, press through those hands, the feet and the arms to lift the hips up high. And here we'll hold. Feel free to take your upper body stretch if that feels right for you. We interlace the fingers underneath the hips with the outside edges of your arms pressing into the floor. And we roll onto the shoulders one at a time. Working the wrists together. Deepening that stretch through the upper chest, the thoracic chest. Hold for a few breaths here. Keep that engagement through the core muscles. Keep thinking about your tailbone trying to draw towards your heels, or I suppose in this position, your knees. You're drawing it away from the rest of your spine. Good. To release, you slowly roll off those shoulders one at a time. Release the hands to the back beside the body, palms facing down. And then again, we're slowly rolling down through the spine. Vertebrae by vertebrae, releasing lower back. Hips and buttocks last as you inhale back to neutral starting spine. Fantastic. From here, let's take a nice glute stretch. Ground down through the left foot, pick your right foot up, and we're going to bring the right knee, sorry, not the right knee, the right ankle, so it rests above the left knee. So you're coming into a nice little figure 4 position. So that we're looking something a little bit like this. Okay. Once you're feeling comfortable there, again, it's that lovely contraction of your core muscles. That's going to bring the legs in towards the chest. You wrap your hands around either the back of the left thigh or perhaps the top of the left knee, whichever feels like a more comfortable grip for you today. This right foot stays flexed so that you're really activating into your deep hip rotators. And you're encouraging the right knee to point out towards the side. Maybe you can even use your right elbow a little bit to help push, I should say gently encourage, not push your knee to the side. Deep breath in. Keep trying to drop your tailbone towards the floor though. And we're just stopping at that first point of resistance and holding there. You get a cramp, ease out. For some reason I'm now getting a cramp on my left hip, so I'm just going to give that a little massage. And then when I'm ready, I'm going to come back in. Good. Little bit of a rock from side to side perhaps, massaging through the lower back and just noticing how that changes the stretch through the glutes and through the hips. Then we're going to slowly lower the left foot back down towards the floor. Now before we release from that figure of four, I'm just going to show you a slightly different variation here. So same idea if we bring this leg in towards the chest, but now the left hand is on the outside edge of the right foot. We still have that figure of four shape. And now I'm going to draw it closer to my chest, but then draw my right foot across my body. So it's like I'm imagining that I'm pushing a wall away from me on my left side. And you'll just notice that that changes the stretch. Good. So if I move so that you can see what it looks like from the other angle. See how that leg's coming really across my body. Kind of like in a cross mount, but I'm not trying to straighten my leg at all here. I want it to stay bent. I want to keep externally rotating my leg and point my right knee out to the side. And again, maybe I can rock it side to side. It's kind of like a piston movement here. Before I come back through my center, and I just release that right foot down towards the floor. And we take it on the other side. So, left foot comes up now. Nice flex foot. Left knee pointing out towards the side. I contract through my core muscles to bring that thigh in towards my chest. And I use my hands for grip. It's like an active bicep curl. Left elbow encourages left knee out to the side. Deep breath in. Exhale. Allow that right thigh to sink a little deeper towards the chest, even if that's just a 0.5 millimeter, even if you can't really see it with your eyes. Keep allowing your tailbone to relax back down towards the floor. Deep breaths in and out. Let go of any tension you might be feeling around the face. And then again, we're going to come into that same little variation. So you might want to rock a little bit from side to side just here. Just noticing that change in the stretch. If you found it a little bit difficult to get into the position before, you can try this time instead to release this leg. So core muscles are working hard. Grab onto your left leg now, then lower that right foot back down towards the floor. Yeah, this right foot is acting as an anchor to support you, so the knee stays pointing out towards the sky. It's not flopping out to the side. And then from here, we guide the leg across the body, working now the left sole of the foot into an imaginary wall to the right side of us. And a little bit of guidance through this hand, just to encourage to continue that external rotation through the left leg. And then again, you can keep it static, or it can be that slight, almost pistoning movement, where we guide that leg side to side across our body. So this is what we call a sliding stretch. So it's good for the parts of our body where the neural muscle, neurons? I don't know what I'm trying to say, but you know what I mean. It's a nerve stretch, yeah? So it's a sliding nerve stretch. So particularly if you feel that kind of deep pinching in and around your hips, if you have sciatica, this could be a good one to do as well. So the idea is not to really hold so much, just to slide. Good. Come back through center alignment. Release that leg back down. And we're going to come into a spinal twist now. Arms in a cactus-shaped position with the elbows lining up with the shoulders. Backs of the hands onto the floor. Draw those knees back in towards the chest. Squeeze them together. As you exhale, let your knees come all the way towards the left side of your mat and completely release them down. So if you feel like your toes are hovering off the floor, straighten your legs a little until they can completely relax down. And if you're lucky like me, maybe you're in a nice little sunspot. Working on that little bit of vitamin D for my feet apparently. And then inhale to lift and lengthen a little bit through the spine. Exhale, deepen your twist, turn to look over the right arm or the right elbow if it's comfortable for your neck. When you're in a twist, we want to try to switch off through our abdominal muscles and our lower back and our hips and just completely relax here. If you're struggling to do that a little bit, you can take this left hand and then just hold onto the outside edge of your right knee. Sometimes that bit of extra weight can just help you to continue to relax and release into the posture. Hold for a few more breaths. Inhale back through center with your head. Release the left hand from the right knee. And then inhale, we go right knee and then left knee back to center, one at a time. Readjust if you need to. Glue the legs together once more, and then exhale, we take them all the way to the right side of our mat until the legs completely relax into the floor. Deep breath in, exhale. Can you imagine that left shoulder blade melting down in towards the floor? Turn the gaze if it's comfortable to look out over that left arm. Good. And again, belly softens, lower back relaxes, hips relax. Maybe you can take this right hand and hold onto the outside edge of the left knee. That just encourages you to just surrender a little bit more into the stretch. Eyes can softly close. And try to take a conscious effort to take some nice, really deep breaths in and out here. As you help to detoxify the body at the end of your practice and to recalibrate the spine. To release, take the gaze back to center, and then when you're ready, contract through the core muscles. Inhale the left knee and then the right knee back through center. Do any last little kind of wriggles or stretches that feel right for you. For me, for some reason, it's the circle of the ankles. Ankles feeling a little tight. And then when you're ready, you can transition into a relaxation or shavasana position of your choice. Maybe that soles of the feet onto the mat, knees, feet quite wide, and allow your knees to knock together. That's great if you ever get tension in your hips or your lower back during relaxation. Or perhaps the legs come out long, feet are very generous hip width distance apart, toes lobbing out to the side. Choose your position for your arms today. Perhaps that's arms beside your body, palms facing up, open to receiving the energy you've built up in the room. Or maybe it's palms at the belly. Or maybe you'd even like to take a little bit of a shoulder stretch. Feel free to take all options before settling on one, and then complete any last little wriggles or adjustments that you need to do until you can invite your body into complete relaxation and stillness. You can feel soles of the feet, toes relax, ankles soften. And the flesh of the shin and the calves melts away from the bones. As front and back of knee softens, and front and back of thigh releases. Becomes open and soft. There's no tension being held around your hips or your belly. Belly is just softly rising and falling with the breath. You can feel your hips and your buttocks really supported by the earth beneath you as you allow them to surrender down to the earth and allow your lower back to open and release. No tension being held at the heart center, chest or collarbones, only allowing a nice soft easy breath in and out. As the back of your shoulder blades and the back of your rib cage melts and fuses down into the floor beneath you. Your arms are completely relaxed wherever they may be. Fingertips just really softly, gently curling inwards. There's a softness through the neck, front and back, and a release through the jaw and the lips. Maybe there's even a soft, subtle smile at your mouth. No tension being held around the cheeks or the eyes, particularly at the back of your eye socket. Feel the eye socket open up and release up towards your third eye center. And there's no tension around the forehead or the temples, no frown lines there. Feel the whole back of the skull and the top of your skull open and release. Whole body completely at peace. And if you notice or begin to notice any thoughts or external distractions bubbling up into the mind, acknowledge them, but then gently press them to one side, not letting anything intrude into this moment of peace and relaxation, or Shavasana. We'll begin to slowly take our awareness back to the body now by taking a few deep breaths in and out, really noticing your belly rise and fall. Perhaps even taking an audible exhale out through the mouth. Bring a little bit of movement to your fingers and toes, giving them a wriggle, feeling skin rub on skin. And then turn your head from side to side to massage through the back of the skull and to reawaken the neck. Head returns to center and we complete any last little stretches that feel right for us. And that's inhaling into a full body stretch, fingers and toes pointing away from the body. Or perhaps it's drawing the knees in towards the chest for another final hug and squeeze, rock from side to side, or a little happy baby posture or hip stretch. Just doing anything that feels right for you. And then only when you feel ready, should you roll over onto your right side and pause for a moment there in a fetal position, giving your body one last chance to re-enter the space of the room. Eyes are softly closed. Then we use our hands and arms to slowly press ourselves up into a comfortable seated or kneeling position of your choice, not worrying too much about where you end up facing, letting hands rest on the thighs or the knees. Re-establish that lovely neutral spine, tall posture. Crown of the head works towards the sky as the tailbone drops down towards the earth. Back of the neck is long. Take this moment to reflect upon your breath as you breathe in and out through the nose. Notice any changes that might have occurred there. Or any other changes that you might notice or become aware of in the body, the mind, or at the heart center. And we'll we'll take our hands to prayer at heart center, Anjali Mudra. Bow our forehead down towards our fingertips. Take this moment to truly thank yourself for taking the time out of your busy day and week to come and practice yoga, to nurture and cherish. I'd like to conclude the class with one chant of the mantra Om. You can join in simply by listening. But if you'd like to chant with me, we'll synchronize the breath by all exhaling here. And then we'll take a deep breath in for Om. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. So thank you again for joining me for today's practice. I hope you enjoyed it. As always, please let me know if you have any requests by hitting me up in the comments. And if you're new to the Hump Day Yoga Flows, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button so that you get notifications when I release new videos. I try to do them fortnightly. Sometimes the rhythm gets a little killed up, but for the most part it is every second week. So again, thank you so much for taking the time, and until I see you next, have a wonderful day.